were airborne for just a moment, and we were really up in the air. We were really up in the air.
Hello, and welcome to another flight with Maxwell's Virtual Aviation. With everybody saying goodbye to Flight Simulator 2020, I thought that I would jump on the bandwagon, but this probably isn't my last flight in 2020. I know it's not. I'm going to be flying all weekend until 2024 comes out, but I thought we'd go out with this aircraft because, well, this aircraft means a lot to me. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about it and what I think about 2024 as it comes out. And we'll go for a flight around the harbor here. So welcome to the Hughes H4. An aircraft that has meant a lot to me and something that I never thought in a million years that we would see this aircraft in Flight Simulator at this fidelity. I mean, I've had this aircraft in Flight Simulator 2004, and I've had it in FSX, but nothing like this. Absolutely nothing like this. Wow. All right, we're gonna get towed out to, let's see here, we're gonna go ahead and turn off our buoys, and we're gonna turn on our control box because, actually not do that, let's get our trim back. Here we go. Gonna go ahead, turn on our tug here. There is Miss Hercules, and we are gonna get towed out to open water, as it would have been on the day. It is November 2nd in the sim, by the way. I was not anywhere near my simulator on Spruce Goose Day, but it's November 2nd in the sim now, so we can go for a flight. So, as Miss Hercules tows us out, let us just reflect on what Flight Simulator 2020 has given us. A world that is accurate and amazing, aircraft that have fidelity that we haven't seen, and this idea that it's going to stay that way. One thing that I continually see that continually surprises me is that it seems sometimes that people don't understand how good they have it. When I had 2004 or FSX, which many of us played for years, we didn't get any of these updates. We didn't get world updates. We didn't get any of this. What we got was a very glitchy sim that we had to put up with. And that self-reliance on trying to fix something that was in many ways broken is kind of what formed us into the simmers we are today. Yeah, I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. And it's really hard. Computers are kind of the same way. The way that people talk about computers, like, we had to understand how Windows worked in order to use Windows. You watch videos of kids using, Windows XP, and haha, we laugh. But it was very different then from what it is now, and Flight Simulator is no different. And what 2020 has given us is a level of fidelity, a level of support, a level of things being better than we have seen in the sim community for Microsoft Flight Simulator, period. And I don't think anyone would argue that. So, all right, we are gonna straighten down. By the way, this tug is awesome because this is what they did. They towed the boat out. Let's go outside and take a look. They towed the boat out, and that's how she got ready for her flight. It was a much smaller boat because you don't need a very large boat. For those of you who've been following the Martin Mars up in Canada and have seen the boat they used to tow that, relatively large. I mean, currently the world's largest flying boats. It's not a very big boat. It doesn't take a lot of horsepower to move even something as massive as the Hercules through the water. But the fact that we get an entire harbor tug to do it, I think that's pretty cool. So you know, we've got to give massive props to Blue Mesh for the work that they've done in making this come like real. I remember when I saw the trailer for the 40th anniversary edition, I was at work and I literally ran to people pointing out the trailer on my phone and being like, they're bringing the Spruce Goose to Flight Simulator. And I got a little unintentional, like I got to see some cool behind the scenes stuff and ask some direct questions and, you know, interact a little bit. And that's been really cool, especially there on the forum with the creator. And, you know, he really wanted to bring the aircraft as it sits to life. And I think that's been accomplished. You know, I've done a lot of research into the aircraft. This has been an interest of mine since I was 6 years old. I've wanted to see it since I was 6. We're actually going to get to go see it in 2025. So I'm really excited for that. But, you know, this is it. This is the aircraft on November 2nd, 1947. And this is what, you know, they would have seen. And I'm virtually sitting in a seat that I hope I will get to sit in, I think, this fall. So that's going to be really cool. Miss Hercules doesn't go very fast. Let's give it the full nuts. So everything in the aircraft right now is in true cold and dark. So we will walk through my checklist one last time here in 2020. Spoiler alert, I have an updated version of the checklist, just a few minor tweaks and things that I will release once I have taken a look at the Hercules in 2024 and see if anything needs to be changed, and I will update that on flightsim.to so that it is correct to the 2024 Hercules. What is that going to bring? I am very excited. You know what? I think we're far enough out. If we need a taxi, we can do that. All right, Miss Hercules, you can go ahead and shut down. Your help is appreciated. All right, let's run the checklist, shall we? Upon arrival, local weather has been checked. It's overcast. It is November 2nd. Coffee urns, I did check them. They are full, and the aircraft walk-around and pre-flight has been complete. Here's a question for you, because I went through and changed some of the things so that it would be in true cold and dark state. Are we going to get a walk-around in 2024? Can you imagine that? Walking, so that ladder right there, and then there's a door there, and there's a door over there that I've seen in photos that are open, which will allow you to access the wings. Can you imagine virtually walking the length of a football field to go check your control surfaces, and then finding the pitot covers and getting those off? Because it's all in the checklist in the Hughes Flying Boat Manual. It's all there. I looked because I was curious, and the steps for most of the walk around and pre-flight are in there. The biggest issue is that this panel right here, that's a radio panel in 47. Immediately after they flight that, ripped that out. This became the hydraulic panel, and that's what you see today in the aircraft. And a lot of the hydraulic and gust locks and all of that all relate to that panel that is not present in this version of the aircraft. So, but still, that would be really, really cool. All right. So before start engines, safety and crew brief, we've done that. All lights are off. Let's wander over to the engineer's station real quick so that we can do this. All right. Mixtures are all in cutoff. That is one thing I would love to see, is the inclusion of the mixtures. Auto rich, auto lean, and cutoff, because that would increase the range. That would allow us to fly farther, and that was literally why and how that worked. So master throttles are, of course, all closed. Propeller control, I believe, starts on low. We'll double check that. Wing fuel tanks can go ahead and come open. Hull fill tanks 1 through 4 number 7, and then 9 through 14 can all come open. Remembering that not all of those fuel tanks are actually installed in the aircraft today, but that is what the manual says, so that is what we do. The battery can go ahead and come on. And the APUs 1 and 2 can start. And once they've stabilized RPM, we can go ahead and turn generators 1 and 2 on. And we now have electrical power in the aircraft. Alright. Everything looks good on this side. We're going to move to starting engine checklist. We're going to try to get them all started, and then we'll just taxi out. Although we could actually start 3, 4, 5, and 6, taxi on those. I think we'll do that, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So cowl flaps need to come open fully. I think I have a button set to that on my Honeycomb Bravo. Let me make sure. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. There it is. Alright, cowl flaps are open. Ignition is on. I'm just going to turn all of my ignitions on. Ignitions are on. Mixture is auto rich. Do it to all of them. There we go. Alright, we are going to start engines 3, 4, 5, and 6. Here we go. Let's see here. Turning 4, or start 4, prime 4. And we have a good start on 4. Starting 5, priming 5. We have a start on 5. Turning 3, priming 3. We have a good start on 3. Turning 6. 0. Turning 6, priming 6. Waiting for that start switch to drop. Looks like we've got a good start on 6. Back to the... Here we go. Yep, we are definitely in low. Alright. We're definitely in low. I can tell by how the aircraft is behaving with 4 engines on. We will need to get turned around a little bit, but I am going to bring those up just a touch. Turn these off to avoid the sea spray. Let's take a look at what we look like. This is very much what she looked like when she taxied out. She didn't have all of her engines running. By the way, I'm running FS Realistic, which is why I've got kind of some interesting noises going on. And I've also... Oh yeah, I've turned up my computer a little bit. Turn that on. I've turned up my computer a little bit. I've doubled the amount of RAM in the computer in preparation, and that's really the only thing that I've done. It's funny, I reached down for the 4 throttles so that I can make our turn, and we don't have 4 throttles. How awesome is that not? Alright, we're going to wait for that to load. That looks good. Let's see here, let's go ahead and get our RPMs high here. Oh, that's low RPM. My bad. There we go. Bring our RPMs high here. As my RPM knob falls off. Alright, there we go. GPS is warming up. We're going to get the other engines started. Here we go. Start 2, priming 2. Good start on 2. Turning 7, priming 7. Good start on 7. Starting 1, priming 1. Good start on 1. Starting 8, priming 8. And we have a good start on 8. Alright, let's get this thing turned around here. Give us some more sea room here. I will admit that using the mouse on the throttles works fine, but it would be really nice if they went back to the four throttle controls. I know that it's historically accurate. In my opinion, what they could have done is they could have kept it to 4 throttles, but been able to manipulate the master throttles independently with the mouse. As it is, as I've said, it borked the control scheme, and it means that, unfortunately, in 2020 at least, we are unable to manipulate our engines appropriately using external controls. And yeah, it's annoying. Alright, here we go. So there we go. Let's see here. Starting engine checklist is complete. I do have a master throttle, which is nice, because then I can set this like I am now. Alright, engine warm-up. Flight controls. Ah, interesting. There's a bit of a lag in that. Flight controls tested and free and clear. Props, let's exercise those real quick. We'll bring it up just a touch here. So what would be cool is if our lights worked, and when we're at full low, then that light would illuminate. Also, by the way, I was wrong. I'm going to go on record and say that. This is, in fact, throttle friction. It's absolutely throttle friction. I was wrong. That's exactly what it does. It's a throttle friction. And I thought it was something else. And I said it was something else. And that was not correct. All right. We are back to high. So, in reality, the flying boat, these dials were painted with luminescent paint, and they would fluoresce. So, as it stands, I only have one big light, my dome light, and then it also illuminates these lights, but all of these lights would have had individual controls. Alright, so that is taken care of. We're going to assume that engine run-up's been complete. It's also difficult for engine run-up, primarily because we don't have magnetos for each engine. But that is neither here though. So, we are now taxiing here. So, altimeter is set. Landing lights can go ahead and come on. Which also, let's see here. Landing lights are on, position light is on, and the pitot heat is on because. There we go. The landing lights, of course, very nicely illuminate the cockpit, thankfully. And we're doing alright. Alright, so landing lights are on. Engine generators 1, 3, and 7 can go ahead and come on. APUs 1 and 2 can go ahead and come off. Now, it should be noted that in the instruction booklet for the aircraft, it informs you that if you are going to be over 20 minutes, you'll deplete your batteries. So we want to make sure... Oh, come on. There we go. We want to make sure that within 20 minutes we're going to be taking off, because we'll have low RPMs, but that takes care of that. Before takeoff, windows and hatches are secure. Flaps we're gonna go 20 degrees of flap. All right, there's 20 degrees of flap. Elevator trim, check at 0. Let's jump this off real quick. Let's see here. Elevator trim checked at 0 and 0. Good. Propeller controls are in fact high. All exterior lights are on. Cowl flaps can go to 25% open, which I will do now if I can find the button for it. Let's see here. That's not it. So I just have it set as a momentary switch. Ah, darn it. Too much. There we go. Cowl flaps are now 25% open. Hull tank 8. Our emergency hull tank can go ahead and come open. Let's see, hull tank 8. I believe is that one right there. All right. Before takeoff checklist is complete. And we are still moving over a little bit. I don't like that. I'm gonna tweak that engine just a touch. All right. I think we are ready to go. No ocean traffic left, no ocean traffic right. Here we go. Let's get her on the step. Speed's alive, there's 30. There's 40. There's 40 over a choppy sea. There's 50. There's 60. Full throttle. Full throttle. And it cuts out momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, we are airborne. I love how this thing just gets off the water. Once you catch that, man, you're gone. But of course they knew that. This aircraft was beautifully designed. All right. I don't know why I'm getting so much. Getting chatter in my props. I don't like it. Wow, we've got way more manifold pressure than what I was expecting. We're gonna pull it back here. Flaps are gonna go ahead and come up. And we're just gonna make a great big circle. But, yeah. And we will bring our RPM down just a touch. Straighten out here. Oh wow, the extra sounds of FS Realistic are pretty good, not gonna lie. And I believe that we're probably still climbing like crazy because that's what this aircraft does. And then I need to remember that my trim wheel is backwards because my trim wheel is set to match. Oh, the trim wheel you can't see. There we go. My trim wheel is set to match that trim wheel. There we go. All right. Go ahead and pull this back even more. And a little bit less RPM here. There we go. Look at that. I never thought in a million years that we would see this. Oh, we can go ahead and close our cowl flaps, I think. I think our engines are sufficiently cooled now. Let's see. Nope, wrong one. Cowl flaps are closed. We'll go along the coast here and then we'll set up for a landing at the water runway that we just took off at. But so this is 2020, obviously not looking as good as it could, but as good as I can make it look on the system that I have. I have tweaked it, I've brought it up a little bit more, I'm running 64 megs of RAM, and this is the best flight simulator I've ever seen on a system I own. And I think that's saying something for what 2020 has to offer. We'll bring those 8 engines down. We are lightly loaded. So anyway, what do I think about my time with 2020? I've enjoyed it. It has reintroduced me to flying again virtually. I'm a member of several virtual airlines that I really enjoy. Still running one of my virtual airlines, 2 of them technically. No one's flying with me, but it's fun anyway. I've flown in places I didn't think I'd fly, and I've really enjoyed the fidelity of what the sim has to offer because we've never seen it like this before. So I'm super excited for 9 a.m. on Tuesday. 9 a.m. Mountain time means that I'm ready for the sim download. And you'll probably not get a video from me for a bit on it. I want to make sure that all of my controls are working like they should, and that I understand what's going on and what's going to work and what isn't going to work. So, look at that beauty. Look at that. Look at that. I want to address something. I was going to make a whole video on this particular address, but I want to address something. The Hughes H4 Hercules was a prototype and was designed as an experimental aircraft. It was not designed for eventual production. Furthermore, Howard Hughes was offered the use of metal relatively early on in the progress of making the aircraft. He declined because he'd already put time and effort into making it work with wood, and because he knew that it was an experimental aircraft. All right? If they were going to build another one, it would have been made out of metal. Any further aircraft would have been made out of metal. After the flight, there were a few possible issues with flex and a few other things requiring strengthening of the structure. One of the most obvious ones, if you look at this model and go to the back, you'll see some patches. That was to strengthen the tail. There are, it is documented that they were thinking about possibly covering the wings in corrugated metal to strengthen the aircraft. All right? It is a prototype. It is a test bed. Especially in the guise that we see it here in Flight Simulator in 1947, it is not finished yet. All right? It was continually upgraded during its time in its dry dock in Long Beach. More powerful engines, well, not more powerful engines, but improved engines of the same type. Continued work on the flight control systems, continued work on the cockpit, making things work better. It was continuous. But this aircraft in this guise, like you see it here, me flying it now, is a prototype, a test bed, a scientific novelty. This is not the aircraft that would have flown across the Atlantic hauling 2 Sherman tanks or 700 troops. All right? It was not this aircraft. All right, let's do our descent checklist. Descent briefing given. We're going down. Well, not in a bad way, in a controlled way. Descent briefing given. Pitot heat is on. Descent power is monitor. So we're just gonna monitor as we come down here. And we also need to keep descending. There we go. This thing descends beautifully. All right. This is probably my favorite part, is flying along the California coast like this. And to think, the control inputs probably would have been relatively light because I've got all of that hydraulic force behind me and the artificial feel system giving me a sense of what's going on. Yeah. One thing I'm really excited about is I want to see how big the wheel is. I want to feel the wheel and see what size it is. All right, before landing checklist. Crew notification. We're landing. Given. Hull tank 8. I never closed it, so hull tank 8 is in fact still open. Cowl flaps are closed. Flaps we are going to lower in 15% increments as we approach our landing zone. Landing lights are still on. Autopilot never came on. It is in fact still off. You are a surfer in Long Beach, California, and this thing comes overhead. What's that gotta be like? Oh wow, I can see all the little beach huts now, since I've turned up my level of detail ever so slightly. I have just been pushing the sim a little bit at a time with the 64 megs of RAM, trying to get to where it's gonna work out well. Alright, here we go. That's really cool. Hopefully they'll get rid of the water jackies. That would be good. We're gonna start reducing our engine power here. I'm gonna go ahead, make sure, there we go, that our engine, that our RPM's high. Our before landing checklist is complete. We do have flap limits, so we need to be cognizant of those. I'm gonna pop over here real quick and see. All right. We're not quite ready to start the landing sequence yet. I need to be able to see the two islands, but so I hope that some of you in 2020 have gotten, you know, my work with this aircraft has helped you. I hope that the checklist, that you enjoy it. I hope that my little history bits about the aircraft have enlightened you to the amazing history, construction, development, flying, and engineering of this aircraft, which is truly, well, it's a monumental achievement. I mean, he had he had his life rolled up into it, and he had stated several times that if it was a failure, he'd leave the country and never come back, and he meant it. I adore this. But to me, this is what Flight Simulator is. We are flying over the coast of California. There are cars driving below us, marveling at this giant aircraft that is on its way into Long Beach for a landing. And this is great. I'm flying an aircraft that I would never get to fly in real life, even if I did fly in real life, and yet I get to enjoy it all the same. I mean, if that doesn't sum up what Microsoft Flight Simulator should do, and why we have it, then I don't know what does. I don't. You know? It lets us do something that we don't get to do. Whether we do it for real or not, we don't get to do this. And that's what Flight Simulator does. And that's what it does for me anyway. And that's why I love it, and why I'm going to keep doing it, and why I spent an ungodly amount of money for the Aviator Edition so that I could get all of my airplanes first day and play with them, you know? So, you know, as a vintage aircraft fan, yeah, totally did that. All right. One thing that is really interesting with this airplane is how the layout of cockpit instruments is totally sometimes unusable. And I'm curious to see when I actually see the real aircraft if that's also true. Because, for instance, I don't know if you can tell, but our airspeed gauge keeps disappearing behind the wheel. That doesn't seem very good. I have entire instruments that are blocked by where my wheel is right now. Now, I could lean forward and things, but You know, you would think you would want to have everything that you needed immediately apparent. Okay, I'm going to stop talking and start landing here. We're going to go ahead and give flaps 1 notch. Watching our airspeed. There are our islands. There are the breakwaters. I actually did a stall paper on this aircraft, and its characteristics for stalling and at different flap speeds. And the most important thing is to remember is that final stage of flaps, you will drop like a stone. This thing will just stop flying. So you do it at the last minute. Another stage of flaps here. You just do it at the last minute, and she settles down really nice. There's the breakwater. That's what I'm looking for. Water looks good. No boats or anything in our immediate. Here we go. So we're right over the breakwaters, right like we should be. Power comes down. There's that third stage of flap. Power comes off. And we're gonna just settle down. Flaps are coming up. I don't think you could ask for nicer than that. Go ahead and put our engines at a low pitch. Alright, cut engines 1, 2, 7, and 8. Alright, let's do that here. There we go. Alright, after landing, flaps are up. Cowl flaps can go ahead and come open. I did have a question on the forums about the cowl flaps, and actually in the manual, you don't open your cowl flaps until after you've landing. So, alright, APUs can go ahead and get started. Those are ready to take a load. There we go. Shouldn't have turned those off. APU generators 1 and 2 are on. And then generators 1, 3, and 7 can go ahead and come off. Very good. I like it that with the low RPM, we just kind of drift. Alright, stopping engines. Propeller controls are low. Mixtures to cut off. And ignitions can go ahead and come off. Ignitions are off, master throttles are closed, cowl flaps are all closed neutral. Alright. Go ahead and turn our buoys on so our wings are supported. Go ahead and turn that off. That was interesting. I don't remember turning that off, but there we go. Oh, we can turn our lights off here. So before leaving airplane, all lights are off, batteries off, APU generators 1 and 2 will be off, APU 1, 2 off, wing fuel tanks closed, and those closed. You know what? We're going to leave those running for a little bit. We're going to get towed back to dock. So let's go ahead, actually turn off our buoys, call it Miss Hercules here. There she is. And we're going to get towed back into the harbor. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little flight and a little rant. Not really a rant, but a little rambling about Flight Simulator 2020 and what is going to be the last video in sequence, anyway, of this aircraft, the H4 Hercules that we just took for a spin around Long Beach on November 2nd. 2024, while we await for the new version of the aircraft in Flight Simulator 2024. So, I guess on behalf of my co-pilot, Fred Barkas, and the flight crew here on the Hercules, it's been a pleasure flying with you. We'll get some more videos out once I figure out the new sim, give you some of my thoughts, do some more Hercules content, do some more of my airliner content, as such as it is, and we'll keep doing this because I enjoy sharing this with you. So, well, thanks for flying with me, and until next time, Hercules out.